Read or watch any phone review from the past 3 or 4 years and you'll notice something being mentioned very frequently. About how phones aren't really changing much anymore. From one generation to the next, we're seeing incremental updates with nothing really giving genuine reason for upgrading your phone. People are upgrading less too, keeping their phones for longer, and for the most part buying either Apple or Samsung phones, at least in the UK and the US. So what do you do when you're not a mainstream manufacturer? The tactic employed by OnePlus as an example is to launch a device with the most high-end hardware it can find, but launch the phone at a more reasonable price than the S24 Ultras or iPhone 15 Pro Maxes of this world. With the OnePlus 12, there's this sense that it's now reached the pinnacle, offering what looks to some like an incremental update, but actually is much more than that. I'm Cam Bunton from Pocket-lint, and this is my review. So before actual skinny bezels were possible, tech manufacturers instead adopted the innovation of adding curved glass to the sides of the phones, reducing the appearance of the bezel by changing the angle, without actually making the bezel that much smaller. This approach also enables them to make a phone that's big feel smaller, because the edges of the phone are slimmer than they would be if the phone was completely flat. OnePlus has continued along this theme, where the mainstream players have now moved back over to flat screen with actually super skinny bezels. Just look at the Galaxy S24 series phones to see what properly thin display frames look like. Still, while the curved look is getting a bit dated now, it does at least mean the OnePlus keeps a unique visual identity from the front, and of course, the camera housing on the back also serves this purpose. There's no way you're going to get this confused with an iPhone or a Pixel or a Galaxy. It's a similar look to the OnePlus 11, except it's now become more prominent to make space for the larger camera sensors and the more advanced optics, which I'm going to dive into a bit later. Now, my unit is the black version with its frosted matte glass back. It has a certain grippy feel to it. That's a good thing and ensures the phone isn't as slippery as some of its glossy backed predecessors. It is also water resistant, but only up to IP65 levels, which means it can withstand rain and splashing, but isn't certified for any submersion. Now, with a peak of 4,500 nits, the OnePlus 12 display is one of the brightest screens we've ever had on a phone. It's incredibly bright, to the point where in most indoor situations the auto brightness would be set to about 25 or 30% of the available brightness. Auto brightness is one of the things I appreciate the most about OnePlus phones generally as well, because it changes so smoothly and reacts quickly to the changes around you. You don't really even notice the brightness is changing. Otherwise, it sings all the right notes when it comes to specs and performance, like the fact it's Quad HD resolution and can adapt between 1 and 120Hz to ensure you not only get really smooth animations, but also that it reacts quickly to changes in the demands on the screen and therefore saving battery. It's also really detailed, fine text and curves look pin sharp. Colours are vibrant but accurate, and it's just a wonderful display for just about any content you can throw on it. Now, I'd prefer it if it was flat so content didn't disappear a little over those edges on the sides, and also I did find despite the advancement of accidental touch detection, it would sometimes stop me from interacting with the display if my palm was gripping onto the edge. And with Oxygen OS 14 on board, we get all the usual perks that OnePlus software offers on top of Android 14. That includes a plethora of customization choices from icon packs to font styles, always on display designs, colors and scaling. Plus a bunch of handy tools like the battery optimization features that help you keep it running at peak capacity for as long as possible. But let's get on to the good stuff. Now, read through OnePlus's marketing materials or the reviewer's guides that I get handed to test these phones, and you'll find a long list of interesting brand names like Trinity Engine, CPU vitalization, ROM vitalization, RAM vitalization, Hyper Boost, Hyper Rendering and Hyper Touch, among others. Now, what it all means, regardless of the needless names, is the internal hardware and firmware has been tweaked and optimized to not only make it perform smoothly without killing your battery, but also crucially perform for a long time into the future. So the phone should act and feel like new when you're using it in 2 or 3 years' time. Obviously, I can't test if that's true. I've only had it for about 2 weeks, but it's one way OnePlus is trying to make its phones last for longer. And the same is true of the battery. It's a big 5,400 mAh battery, and in my experience on lighter days, I'd have no real trouble getting it to the end of a second day. For the right user then, it can be a 2-day battery, which is pretty amazing given the power available on this phone. So it's fast and smooth, but that doesn't kill the battery. Thanks to the optimizations I mentioned earlier, gaming doesn't seem to drain the battery all that heavily either. And that could also be down to the fact that the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 inside is more power efficient than previous models, but also because its thermals are more efficiently managed thanks to the addition of some big cooling components like a redesigned vapor chamber inside the phone. Social media, particularly with video playing, seems to be the way to drain the battery, but still, with 5.5 hours of screen usage split 50-50 between games and Threads or Instagram, I still only used about 55% of the battery. And then when it eventually does get empty, you can plug it into its 100-watt charger and it can refill in about 26 minutes. Or if you have the proprietary wireless charger, you can do it in about an hour. And from all the features in this phone, the battery, the charging speed, the performance, the longevity, that is the thing that impressed me the most. But then there's the cameras, which this year are actually good. Now, I could probably spend an entire review just talking about cameras on the OnePlus 12, and maybe I will in the future, time allowing, but there's a huge amount to like about it, even if it's not perfect. It feels redundant to say that the OnePlus 12 camera system is the best OnePlus has ever had, since every new OnePlus has the best camera the company has ever had at some point. But with the increased size of the sensors on both the main and the zoom cameras, the latter of which now has a periscope-style 3x optical zoom, this is one serious camera phone. In the day or any condition where there's good levels of light, the primary camera takes photos with good detail, colour and contrast. Still pushes those a tiny bit high, but in doing so produces vibrant, good-looking shots. Although OnePlus has stated it's improved the actual lens hardware inside the camera to reduce lens flare, it's still more than happy to create those distracting bands and lines across the display when there's a direct light source in the shot, especially with both the ultrawide and the primary lenses. Unlike previous years though, the ultrawide seems to match the colour of the primary pretty well, as does the zoom lens, so there's no longer a feeling that you've got two poorer secondary and tertiary cameras. And the versatility offered thanks to that 3x optical zoom means it's a really strong all-round system. With that zoom lens at 3x and even at 6x, which combines optical and digital, the images retain sharpness, colour and detail well. However, once you push past that into the realms of double digits like 20x or 30x zoom, the images start to take on quite a nasty artificial sharpness, and a sense that the processing is smoothing out any noise to the point of zero texture, giving it the appearance of a painting. Now, it obviously gets no better if you push as high as the 120x limit. My advice is to stick to 3x or 6x, anything over that does look quite ropey. Now, in daytime I found it matched the Pixel 8 Pro pretty well, delivering strong detailed images. In the nighttime or low light situations though, it wasn't quite as competent. Like most modern phones, it's equipped with an AI-powered night mode that automatically cancels out any handshake or movements while taking a longer exposure. However, OnePlus takes its night mode shots quickly, usually taking under a second to capture the light for the image. Compared to the Pixel 8 Pro then, that means it didn't draw in anywhere near as much light from the shadowed, dark areas. And what that meant was, while images were sharp, the shadows were dark and the skies remained dark too, so you don't get the effect of seeing dramatic skies at nighttime with most shots. In some instances, having that dark and light contrast is preferable, as is the tendency to retain the warm street lighting over white balancing it out to make it too cool. But it would be great if the OnePlus had a pixel-like slider to increase the time of capture to draw in more of that light from the shadows and the dark skies, because the sensor is big enough to take advantage of that. Video capture is pretty strong too, although it does seem to lose some of that colour and contrast compared to the Pixel phone, and you can only shoot at 1080p if you want stabilised footage. It's also worth noting OnePlus has a new Master mode which replaces the Pro mode, allowing you to tweak and change any settings like a pro. So if you're into photography and like controlling all of those elements yourself, the OnePlus phone is a great tool. Now, in the end, the OnePlus 12 is an interesting phone. The camera system is a big play, especially having partnered with Hasselblad, attempting to attract a photography enthusiast and those in the know about cameras. Combining its photographic prowess with a device which has one of the best displays ever stuck on a phone, and one which is super speedy, long-lasting, and refills an entire battery in under half an hour, and there's very little to find fault with, especially at this price point. It's nowhere near being a cheap or affordable phone, but it's still much cheaper than the top tier level premium phones that match some of the specs available with the OnePlus 12, so it is still great value for money. But the question is, now that they've got to the pinnacle, where do they go next? Let me know in the comments, or you can get me on Threads. I'm at Cam Bunton. If you did like this video, please do leave a thumbs up, subscribe and tap that notification bell, and I'll see you again in the next one. Bye for now.